Hi there. So, this is the final part of this Critical Role drawing series, project, whatever you want to call it. Something you may notice, this is tacked on. This isn't where there's snow, or there was snow outside, because I'm editing this much later. So I made a couple of mistakes when recording this. Actually, a lot of them. For one, the Fjord part of this, sorry, spoiler alert, I draw Fjord at some point in this video. There was a point where I had my mic swiveled around the wrong way. Like, it's usually here, and then it was like, I swivel it back when I'm not using it. I had swiveled it back and forgot to swivel it back, so the audio's crap on that side. Sorry about that. There'll be a warning for that. There'll be a little text thing to let you know about that. Also, I didn't record an intro to this because I was going to have one drawing be tacked on to the last video that would have made that video like 5 hours long. So I didn't do that. There's other issues in this video. There's so many issues. So I'm glad I'm done recording it. But I will say, out of all those issues, the art still looks pretty daggum good. So I encourage you to watch this and enjoy it as we go on this final bit of the adventure with the Mighty Nein. But anyway, that is the end of that. Let's go right back into the actual pre-recorded me doing stuff live format where I'm not. Anyway, this has been Editing Ruben. Alright then, I've done a little bit more masking so all these characters flow well together right before I do the roll. Now, I'm going to use this red dye, it's red and black dye, and I'm going to see which character we're doing next. There's only 3 left, and I think we only have time to start the next one, but we'll see how far we get. That is a 1. That is Fjord. Oh yeah, Fjord Stone. One of my favorite characters from this. Not the favorite. Well, I don't know. It depends. It's it's definitely one that I was super excited to draw when I came up with this idea, and now I get to, and I'm so excited. All right, sweet. Let me get some reference up for this. In fact, I'm going to change my playlist right now. And if you haven't looked up Autumn Orange on Spotify and his Critical Role lo-fi playlists, look them up. Right now I am playing the Fjord playlist. The Fathoms playlist actually is what it's called, but it's about Fjord. So there. Alright. So Fjord is right here. It's hard to see right now with all the other people, so let me go ahead and do this. Add all the rest of these peoples. And there's Fjord, as well as Caleb and Beau. So this is kind of where we're at right now with all this madness going on. I wonder if I should lower him a little bit. Just looking at it from compositionally. Whatever, I'll get to it. I'll get to it when I get to it. Right now it's time to draw Fjord, and I'm excited. Alright. So, I already have a pretty good sketch, and I really like how this looks, but I think I need to work a little bit more on the face. It's not quite where I want it to be, just based on what I'm looking at from the artwork. I think there needs to be a little more chiseling, but honestly, I think this is like, this was the one that, like, when I was working on it, I was just like, yeah, this is, oh, great. So Clip Studio does this thing where it'll kind of like add these loops, and I don't know why it does that to every brush, but does it all the time, and I can't get rid of it until you just kind of like delete it, and then eventually it just comes back, and it's fine. I don't know, it just, that's how it works. Alright, so should I work on the face first, or let's do the outline. Let's do the outline, that's the better idea. Alright. So, I don't have much more time today to work on this, so I'm going to try to get the outline done, and then we'll see if I can come back and work on this today or tomorrow. This idea here. I kind of like the big simplified armor as opposed to like the original character art, but I do want to add like a little bit of wear and tear on it. Just a smidge. I think it's funny how I will say this about, like, I keep jumping between topics, so I apologize. In Campaign 4, everybody made a big stink about the fact that, you know, they weren't using Daggerheart, they were going to stick with D&D, even though it's been a D&D show for forever, and they weren't, you know, going to do their new system and stick it to Wizards of the Coast and all that, which I think, like, as a business is kind of smart to not just stick it to Wizards of the Coast, because, like, I mean, they've been your sponsor for a really long time, but then also, like, in general, like, it's just a good idea not to just hate on a company even if they make terrible decisions, because, like, don't get me wrong, I think 5.5, not a great system. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, but one thing that I did notice was they're all starting at like level 3, so they're not even really having to deal with the whole, oh well, clerics and warlocks don't know what who their patron is until level 3, or, you know, a lot of them get like their abilities and stuff like a lot earlier than if they had started at level 1, which it also works for like narratively their story. I don't think they exclusively did that because of the fact that the system is kind of weird in the fact that, like, it doesn't let you know what your abilities are or who you're worshipping if you're doing like a cleric or something like that. Like, that's just kind of silly to me. I don't, like, I understand why they did it, like, in the sense of, like, it kind of evens things out for all classes, but all classes are not equal. Like, some of them have, like, benefits that others don't. Like, that's the point of sometimes picking a class over another. It's part of the game. But, alas, Wizards of the Coast. I don't hate them, by the way. I think a lot of people just straight up hate them. And I think they are not going a great direction. I think there's some unfortunate, bit of the customer base that they're trying to reach that maybe isn't appreciating what they're doing. Like, I feel like they've really lost sight of who their customer is, and, like, the customer they're trying to appeal to either is in the minority or doesn't exist. And so because of that, a lot of their business decisions are based on those things that aren't, you know, really the best for them. And that's, you know, that's unfortunate. Because it's like, it's one of those things, it's like with Disney, the same deal. It's like, I don't want to see Disney go away. I like Disney. I've enjoyed Disney since I was a kid. I think most of us have. But they've also made, like, some rather poor decisions based on, like, you know, whatever was trending and whatever they thought, like, their customers would be into, and turns out those customers did not, like, they just didn't show up. Like, all the things that they wanted to try to promote in their movies, or all the things that they wanted to do, just didn't pay off. And then not to mention, like, their quality just has dropped. I think that's a big factor in general. Like, they're just not as good as they used to be because they just aren't trying. That's unfortunate for them and for us. But it is nice to see other animations, you know, other animation studios get their shot now that Disney's kind of been pushed to the side of a lot of people's, like, consciousness. And same with, like, Wizards of the Coast and a lot of the indie productions. Now there's a lot more people putting out their games and putting out their ideas and such. But I think the whole deal with, like, it makes sense to me. I don't want to get in trouble. Let me think about how to word this. I understand why they don't want to use Daggerheart in Campaign 4 for a couple of reasons. And I don't think it's, like, a huge... Like, to me, I don't think it's as huge as some people are making it. But let me preface what I think has happened. So a lot of people are mad that they're not using Daggerheart because, oh, this is their new game, they should be promoting it. And also the way that, like, it's been presented, not from Darrington Press, but from, like, the internet, is, oh, this is the D&D killer, this is the one that's gonna, you know, Critical Role is come to save us, because everything now is the D&D killer. Everything now is supposed to be, like, the better version of, you know, 5.5. And I think the thing is that we're seeing more and more is a lot of people just kind of, like, have, like, expectations that aren't necessarily the goals of the project. Like, I don't think Daggerheart is supposed to replace D&D. I think there are aspects that are trying to replace certain aspects of D&D, like, you know, like the combat is very different and such like that. But I don't think in any stretch of the imagination are they trying to have a system that is better or different than D&D, that is not that will put D&D out of their consciousness because they have this system. I don't think that's ever going to be the case. I do think that some people are treating it like that. I don't think that's a good idea, just in general, because I think, like, while, you know, 5.5 and even, you know, 5th edition, just 5.1 has, or whatever we're at, while that does have issues, I don't think it should be just completely thrown out. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But another reason that I think I understand that why they wouldn't want to use you know, a brand new system that they just came out with on a large, long form, you know, campaign with a guest and, you know, several new people to the channel and their game. Like, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious the way that I worded that, why. But yeah, the game is still really, really new, and there's a lot of new things to figure out. And I was watching their Age of Umbra show, and how a lot of that was handled and how a lot of that system was kind of, like, displayed. And I could definitely start to see some of like the issues and some of the things that I don't prefer about it, but also just like, you know, with some of the balancing and whatnot, but then also just like the fact that like all of them, even the creators of this game, are still trying to figure out how it works, and still learning the rules, and still learning the mechanics and how they want to do certain things. And they've done it for like, they've play tested the heck out of this game. So it would make sense that they, you know, if they don't feel comfortable with the game, then there's no reason to bring other people in and say, hey, play our game. This is our system that we're using now forever. You better learn it. Also, since it's still in development, things are subject to change. So be ready for that. You know, like, I don't think that's a good way to flagship your product. I think what they're doing right now makes sense. But I will say that another aspect is, from what I heard from the live show incident, which was where they were playing Daggerheart with their campaign 3 characters, was like, it took forever sometimes for people to get to take their turns in combat, because it's like one bad roll, and like there'll always be bad rolls, can basically get the DM back on like what he wants to do, and he can just keep spending fear indefinitely. And I don't know, like, if you're not familiar with Daggerheart, none of that makes sense to you, but essentially the way it works is, as the DM, you collect fear as your players collect hope, and you can each spend that to do cool stuff. The thing is, in combat, you know, the DM gets to do a lot with fear, including like take their turn out of turn. They get to, which I think is like the most annoying ability. They also get to do you know, stuff with their monsters that are insane, you know, different moves and stuff like that. And some of that I like the idea of, like in I forget if it's Age of the Empire or what Star Wars system some of that reminds me of, but it is like a little frustrating that, you know, at any time the DM can just decide to take their turn or decide something bad happens, just because they have fear, or they have a certain amount of fear. And sometimes it's even just like 1 or 2 fear, and some now it's like you're looking at a TPK situation as opposed to like where you kind of like had the upper hand in combat. So for me, like that's just like, I don't love. I don't hate it, because I've never played it. I won't say that. Like, I feel like everybody like is like, oh, you're either on one side or the other. For this, I am not very opinionated on, as far as like, oh well, it's like this, so I hate it. How many trains are there going to be today? Goodness. It's not even like a big shipping day. I don't know what the heck is going on. Ugh. I apologize. I have the windows open so you can hear the train. And this guy freaking loves his horn. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't hate Daggerheart. I think there's a lot of great aspects to it. I'd love to look more into it. I'd love to play it. I don't know if I'd love to run it. I'd like to like find somebody who's running a game, and then maybe like I and a couple of friends try it out and see what we think about it, rather than just like trying to jump into a whole massive campaign. But anyway, all that to say, I can see why they don't want to use that for campaign 4, and I don't see why people are freaking out about it, because it's like, look, at any point Brennan can change the rules to whatever he wants, just like you can at your table. And I don't see why people like always, Like, I understand there's not support for that in your decisions, and a lot of people look for that support and validation from the rule books sometimes, but it is a game, and at the end of the day, like, all the books so far from D&D have all said the same thing. The DM can, like, you know, rule whatever they want. So, you know, don't freak out just because they've made some not great decisions. You can always just rule that those certain rules or the certain way that things work just isn't how it's going to work at your table. And yeah, that might lead to some annoying conversations or some tricky things that you have to figure out for your table, but I'm pretty sure, you know, if you've got a good group and you've got some decent players, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. This one's coming along quite quickly. I almost want to keep going with it, but I need to skedaddle here in a minute. Fjord is such a fun character. I really love, like, how Travis got to do a smart, intelligent, fun character. Like, I think, like, a lot of his characters are just very, very fun. Like, I love, like, out of the characters he's done, I love Chutney from Liam's Christmas one-shot. Like, that one's just, like, hilarious to me. I don't really care for Chutney, but as much as Chutney, I feel like it's like kind of like a bit of a rip-off, but I think it's still pretty great. But just like in comparison, I think it's a pale shadow. Grog is great, but I think that when it comes to like trying to like really show off the ability of Travis and like how he is as a player and how he is as like how he is as a player, and then also like as a I don't know, a creative actor and such. Like I feel like Fjord is like the one that like that's if you really want to point to his ability, that's the one that you should look at. Oh great, it's done the loopy thing again. There we go. Yeah. It's nice. It's very nice. All right. Before I get too locked into this, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna call it for right now. Why do I do this? I don't need to sign off. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'll be right back. Oh, there's so.
Perfect.
Wanna draw? Oh my goodness, my microphone's been over here the whole time. I'm so sorry. No matter what you do, it's just gonna be bad. Everything that you do will be bad. You can be as pro as you want, but there's going to be just always something that makes it less than perfect. It's fine. And I'm sure I didn't say anything great, that it was just muffled by the microphone. I'm sure everything that was happening in the hallway is now like very easily heard on that mic. Okay. need the picture of the Sword of Fathoms so I can look at it while I draw it. I'm sure there's people out there that watch this that just get like super frustrated as I jump around from like thing to thing and just kind of like not really stick with anything for longer than a few minutes. But that's my process. Sometimes it's better to just like leave things unfinished for a little while and then come back and see like all the little issues that you have with it and not have to undo like a finished piece. You only have to like rework some of it because it's not all like there. Alright, so now let's get the sword blade drawn, the most stressful part for me, because I want it to look perfect every time. Like, legitimately, if you were like, what's the most stressful part of drawing any character? The hands, the eyes, the face, I'd be like the sword every time. It's like, that's the thing that like really stresses me out. Because it's like, there's so many details in there, there's so many things that I want to look right, there's so many angles that can just make it go from looking sharp and deadly and cool to just janky and stupid. That's just how I measure a drawing. As far as like, if I like it or not, it's always based on the sword. Like other weapons as well, but like swords especially are just like, that's just like a guy thing, I guess. Here's a little tip though, for girlfriends of the world. If you really want to like lock down a guy, get him a sword. Don't get him a little promise ring. Don't get him a little, you know, whatever. No. Here's the thing. From a guy's perspective, first of all, if somebody gives him a sword, that's amazing. I mean, like, that's like the stuff of dreams right there. Like, you have always, you know, as a guy, you dream of like having a fair maiden show up and just bequeath you a blade, based upon, you know, your honor and merit. And then, you know, you also, you get a couple of things from that, girls, because what you get is one, fierce loyalty after that, because you can't just like get rid of a sword. I mean, like, you know, you can take off a ring, you can, you know, put away all these other gifts and stuff like that, but like a sword, I mean, that's something you can't get rid of. I mean, if you break up, you know, then you gotta get rid of the sword, and you can't really get rid of the sword, and you know, so you can't really get rid of the girl either. And also, it sends a message, a very important message, because if there's one sword that you've given out, there might be another sword. And if there's another sword, then it probably means that you can either gift that to the future, you know, gift that in the future, or you can use that in the future and impale your ex and reclaim the blade that once forged vows of affection. So there's a little tip for the girlfriends of the world. Buy your guy a sword. Like, if he doesn't like swords, then I don't think you should be dating him at all. I don't think you would trust him at that point. Swords, 100%. It's the best. But just know it'll be impossible to get rid of them after, like, you can't do it lightly. You can't just be like, oh, here's a sword because I like you. No, it's like, you gotta be you've got to have been dating this guy for a while and then been like, yeah, okay, this is the one that I want to hang on to. And to make that happen, sword. Because if you can't trust a guy that you like with a sword, then there's no like why would you continue dating that person? You know, you want to feel safe around him. So you know, if you don't feel safe giving him a weapon that will empower him and make him feel more like a man and a knight than he's ever felt, while also feeling incredibly like a boy at the same time, who just got, you know, his boyhood dreams completely, you know, fulfilled, then you know, maybe it's time to go boyfriend shopping. Especially if it's just like, oh, I don't like swords, I don't like weapons. And I'm like, yeah, alright, cool, bye. It's a good exit strategy, because then you're the one holding the sword. I'm just saying. It's a good test. Honestly, that would be like incredible. Like, instead of seeing guys walk around with like scrunchies on their wrists, it's just like they suddenly just show up one day and they're like, they have a sword, and you're like, brother, hath she bequeathed you her love? And he's like, verily, you see the steel of her affection upon my belt. We can't hang out anymore, Brian. I have no time for Halo 3 no more. We have apples to pick this weekend. No, brother. She has bewitched you. Nay, brother. It is I who was bewitched by her. And I welcome it. Oh, snap. That's how guys talk, by the way, when no one else is around. We go back to medieval times. Every time. Any guy that says any different is lying to you. I think the only like challenge of that would be like, you know, you have to like consider like what kind of sword, because you can't just like buy a guy a rapier if he's definitely more of a claymore kind of guy, and you can't buy like a you know, a cutlass for your farm boy kind of guy. You gotta put some thought into this. Can't just get a katana for everybody. But you can get some pretty nice blades. At your local blacksmith or forge. And nothing says like strong, independent woman like walking into a blacksmith and knowing exactly what you want. Like, that's just awesome. Can you imagine, like, you go in there and you're like, I wish to buy a claymore for my boyfriend. It shall be forged to these specifications. And then you like walk out with this big old box, probably wooden. Like that's just so cool. That'd be awesome. I'm sorry if I'm projecting what I want in a relationship onto you people, but I'm just saying, when you're right, you're right. Okay. Let's see what I can do here. I think this other eye here is way too far off. So I'm gonna draw it here and then move it just because I've got the got that sketch layer underneath it here, but I need to move this eye later. I love messing up masks, it's the best. Just makes you look so smart when you're on camera. I'd love it if I could get the rest of the image done today, or the illustration. We'll see how that goes. As of right now, I feel like I'm just kind of like roughly making this, and it's just rather rudimentary and kind of crude at this point, which is not what I wanted. It might just be me, and it might just be a phase, so we'll see how it goes. Give it a couple more moments working on this, and then probably the next one as well. That doesn't look right at all, and I couldn't tell you why. So I'm gonna finish this shoulder, and then I will figure out what's wrong there. They're a little bit different in each design. So here I'm going to swap over to this kind of buzzed haircut idea, and this is something that pretty much is exclusive to the digital art. Like, you could probably find a way to like stipple these on traditionally, but since I've got the benefit of working digitally, I might as well use all the tools in the toolbox I can. I get so tired of seeing people try to like take digital art and make it look traditional. And like, I understand why they're doing it. It's not like I dislike, you know, what they're doing. I think a lot of times the art looks fine, but it's just like, I feel like so many times just like, here's how to make your paintings look like, you know, traditional paintings, as if like it's the thing to do to try to fool people into thinking that you did it. You know, like that's the whole point. It's really not. It's just like, if you want something to look traditional, just do it traditional. But if you're doing it digital, just embrace the medium that you're in and use that. Use whatever tools you have. There's no reason to pretend like you're not working on a tablet and have undo and all these other things. Now, you should take lessons from traditional art and not just like completely forget that just because you're using a different medium. I think, you know, but just like how you would with if you were watercoloring, you would not use the same exact methods as you would when you were oil painting. However, you would use the same principles of like light and shadow and what looks good compositionally and stuff like that. But, you know, you would paint very differently because you're painting in watercolor as opposed to oil. Same deal with digital versus traditional, or you know, painting on an iPad versus painting on a tablet, or like a Wacom or whatever, Wacom, I don't know. You know, don't hold yourself back just so that you can appear like one thing or the other. Like use the medium that you have and learn to master that and learn to use that as a tool rather than, I don't know, like a statement. I don't understand why how some people think when it comes to like their work. Like I get it, like the mobile aspect of digital and wanting to like paint stuff and make it look traditional. I get that, but at the same time, I don't understand why. Like for a while there, it seemed like everybody was trying to like make their digital art look traditional, and then they would be trying to draw based off of like digital art references and stuff like that, but like using traditional mediums. And it's just like you have to understand, like, mediums are a thing for a reason. There's a reason, like just because you're using one medium doesn't mean you should feel completely locked into that. Like, you should be able to, like, oh man, I want to learn how to paint like that, but I only do digital. Well, it's okay. Do the best you can with digital, and then if you want to learn, you know, that kind of painting style in traditional, then, you know, go ahead and try. But just use traditional methods rather than trying to force one medium to be another. Then you can take like the lessons you learn from, you know, your time digital and apply them. I'm just repeating myself, but I think you get the idea. Alright, so there's the rough. Now I want to see what this looks like when I flip the canvas. So first I'm going to save it and then edit, flip horizontal. There we go. Oh, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it would. He is leaning a bit, though. He do be leaning. I don't hate it. I don't love it neither. I'm starting to really like it, but I just need a few more things to really sell it. Few more things to go right. I'm really liking this brush pen tool. I don't know why I didn't find it sooner. I use a brush pen all the time when I'm drawing on paper. But generally speaking, like, I don't like how some of the brushes work or seem to function in digital all the time, because like the brushes that are trying to be brushes, I guess. Or how do I describe this? So generally the thing with digital brushes is they're trying to mimic one tool or the other from traditional art, or they're, you know, trying to be a texture or a stamp that you can use. I think both are fine. I've used both. I enjoy both. Especially for like concept art and stuff, you can use those stamp brushes to get stuff very, very quickly, or you can use those textures to get like a quick abstract background, rather than sitting there and trying to noodle around with it. The problem is a lot of times in trying to, again, do traditional artwork with digital tools, you often hit this like level of I don't know, it's like annoying inaccuracy compared to like just the normal tool. And so that's kind of like what I hit a lot of times when I'm looking for like a brush pen, or I'm looking for like a pencil brush for Clip Studio or for Photoshop or whatever. And Clip Studio does like a lot better than Photoshop, obviously, because like I'm using this and not Photoshop. I do prefer Photoshop for the colors, I will say that. But when it comes to like, I don't know, like most digital things trying to be traditional, they don't really impress me that much. But this one recently is not too bad. The brush tool I've been using for the past couple drawings has kind of been impressive, and I think it's just like the base brush that comes with the program, so it's not even anything I've downloaded. They used to annoy me so much out here that on like every tutorial it's just like, you don't even need to like get brushes like for Photoshop. It's like the base brushes are just good enough as they are, and you don't have to, like, I painted this whole thing just using the soft brush. I'm like, great, except for I don't want to have to sit there and adjust the soft brush like for hours every time I want a different stroke. And like, I do get that. Like, I think there is like merit to that advice, and I would even like agree with it for the most part. But like, as like having worked with like concept art and wanting different things a lot quicker, like I do prefer having like a large arsenal of brushes. Now I will say I don't use them all the time, so no, I don't think it's like important to have like 1,000,002 brushes. I don't think you have to have that, but as somebody who's collected quite a few, I will say that it is worth it to have a decent amount to kind of pick and choose from, so that when you're ready to do, you know, one project, you're ready to go versus like another project. If you're just doing painting, yeah, you probably don't need like a ton, but it kind of depends on the type of painting that you're doing. It kind of depends on like the drawing that you're doing. Just like in traditional artwork, like I've got like I think 6 or 7 pencils and pens that I grab every time I go, and like my go bag if I'm gonna be designing on the road or working with, you know, some character art and stuff like that. I've got a couple that just like absolutely have to have. And then like I have a lot more on my desk, but I don't necessarily need it. It's just like what makes your life easier, and then what you can't live without, what you can't draw without. So I think what you can't draw without should only be about 5 items, and then what makes your life easier can be like as many items as you want in your arsenal. That's not looking too bad. I think I'm gonna shadow up this hand a bit more, just to give it a little bit more like depth, and then maybe touch up some of these things here and there, and then I think we're about ready to roll up our next character, which we only have 2 to go, and I'm very excited to see which one's which going to be next. Alright. Oh, the magic. That's right. I'm gonna do the magic. Always forget. So let me merge these 2. And then we are going to do the magic for Fjord, which is just kind of swirling water. So let me pull up a quick reference. I've got a guy that draws just the most prettiest water you've ever seen. I forget his name. Just gonna make it difficult to look him up. I know it when I see it. It's oh, Brett Bruce. He does a pretty good job. I think that's the one I'm thinking of, is it? I love Brett Bruce's art. I just don't know if it's the right one that I'm looking for. Oh, it looks pretty close to what I'm looking for. I don't think that was the one originally I was going for, but that's okay. Give me fire any day. Water is so hard to draw. Like, it's just like, it's, I don't know, it's so flowy and liquidy and translucent. Just too much Who am I thinking of that was that original artist, though? Like, he was really good, and he sadly died, and I don't remember. Michael Turner. It's Michael Turner. That's who I'm thinking of. Brilliant, brilliant artist. When it comes to drawing water and liquid, he's just like insanely good. See what we've got here. Here we go. Quick bit of. Alright, I see what we've got. Not much. So let me go ahead and just add a bit of fill here so I can remove it from the drawing beneath. This is a technique that I've been using for a long time, but the idea is you want to draw on a separate layer above without really worrying about the lines beneath, and then you're going to go through and erase all those other areas of contention or problem. So like the sword under here, there'd be a line going right through that if I allowed the line work and the magic here to have to be on the same layer, or at least, you know, even on separate layers, you know, that they would not quite get along and work. But instead of just like trying to figure out how exactly everything goes while I'm drawing, I instead just draw what I want and then go ahead and make a fill layer or a selection if I can, select it, and then make a mask. So now there's no contention and the lines just flow perfectly around each other. Not quite perfectly. You'll see here that sometimes you need to go in and just add a little bit of extra, which is not bad. It's good. In fact, it adds a little bit more dimension to the magic and the idea of it flowing around the blade in this case. Yeah, there we go. So almost kind of around the barnacles and whatnot. That looks pretty cute. It's pretty good. Let's go ahead and let's flip this back. Take another drink because it takes forever to flip the canvas. I don't know if it's the size or the amount of layers or the fact that I'm recording or what that causes this to take forever, but it takes forever. And it's rather annoying. Okay. Oh, no, it's okay. There we go. So I think. Oh, so this is looking pretty good. Kind of want to go in and make a few adjustments here. This eye is too low. That's my problem. That's what's throwing me off. Oh my goodness. Where's... Sometimes it's just easier to get rid of the mask altogether and just like work. These too close, maybe. Let's see how this looks. Actually, first things first. Merge these like so. And then let's do a quick little select of our surroundings. I always find it's easier to select everything around the drawing rather than like where you want the fill to go. Alright, so then keep your head move up here. And we're gonna go ahead with like this disgusting color, slightly less disgusting color. Do that. A few edits here and there as I merge these two fill layers into one fill layer, which I probably shouldn't have done, considering that like one is magic and one is person, but I don't really care because I'm painting in a different program anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. Alright, there we go. We've got Fjord and his falchion. So let's go ahead and get Not lovely Yasha up here, and I'm going to select this layer and remove it from gestures. I'm going to uncheck that so that I can either move Fjord or gesture up so that compositionally everything looks good. I think compositionally I don't hate it, but I want to see what it looks like if I move Fjord down a little bit. So I guess like I have to select like the, I have to undo the fill then. Whatever. Turn on the fill, then move down Fjord just a wee bit. Yeah, that looks good. That looks a lot better. I like that. A whole lot better. Alright. So that is Fjord. All done. Let's see if my camera works for my rolling table. There's my face. There's my roll. Oh, here we go. Alright. So let's go ahead, since I'm calling this one good to go. Oh wait, why is my thing off? There we go. Since I've got Fjord all finished up, let's go ahead and let's see who our next character is. I think I'm gonna roll this gray die. That's a 1. That is a character that we've already drawn, isn't it? Yep. That's a Fjord. All right, cool. Let's roll it again. It's a 10. That means Caleb. All right. That means the last one will be Beau. Which I'm curious, how many rolls would it take to get to Beau? I have to roll an 18 for that. It's a 2 or 16 to 18. So okay. Yep, there we go. Alright, it's only 3 rolls. That's not bad. Alright, sweet. Well, now we're going to draw Caleb. So let me do a quick reset and we'll be ready to go. So you can see how like complex this has already gotten. I've done a little bit of editing, like erasing around some of the characters' faces and stuff like that so that you can see all the details and such. But I think what I'm going to wind up doing is coloring this, just not maybe on camera or not in this, release right now, but maybe later on. We'll see what happens. But we have now reached the center of the drawing where we will be drawing the sad wizard Caleb. So let me hide all of these guys, and we are now ready to start inking, hopefully. Alright. So Caleb is one of the reasons that I like his character and his delivery of his story is one of the reasons that I even started watching Campaign 2. So way back when I was in college and I was still a little bit fresh from my graduation and of undergrad. I was in master's classes, and I was scrolling through the internet. I was doing a job that involved animation, and so I would watch a lot of animations at work because it was good for study and practice. And what I would do is look at those animations and figure out what they did or enjoy, analyze them so that I could figure out maybe ways to copy that style or find ways to make my work better for my job. And it was really good practice. And I stumbled across this video that I did not know was an animatic for the Mighty Nein, the Knott's backstory kind of reveal from a monologue of one of the episodes of Critical Role Campaign 2. So at this point, I had not even heard of Critical Role. I wasn't playing D&D at that point, and I just really liked how the story was told and how it was executed, and just like in general just got me kind of intrigued about, you know, what this story could be about. And obviously, like, it's kind of funny that my first foray into the world of Critical Role was because of like a spoiler of a major plot point, but that's kind of why I am not as big of a gatekeeper when it comes to spoilers with most people, because like that's how I got into Critical Role, by a spoiler. So, you know, take that for what you will. But anyway, I then looked up more and more clips, including but not limited to a couple of clips about Caleb. And Caleb and Knott quickly became like my two favorite characters, the two that like I was like enthralled by their story and just interested to hear more about them. And so I eventually picked up the show and started watching it, and I watched pretty much the entire show at that job while I was working and spending long hours doing animation. I would have that playing in the background, and it was really, really, you know, handy for me to... handy's the wrong word. It was very inspiring for me. It was very well timed, because it was just one of those things that, you know, I could listen to and I could think about while I was, you know, working, rather than the tedious work that I was doing. And it kind of sparked this great interest in, you know, this kind of medium of storytelling that I hadn't really explored yet. And through that, I wound up meeting some other people that enjoyed the show on campus. I wound up playing D&D later that year, and getting invited to a couple of groups, and then winding up playing in a couple of one-shots, and then eventually a long-term campaign that went on for about 2 years. And yeah, it was very, very fun. It was very, very interesting, and I enjoyed it a lot. So, and it's all because of, you know, Caleb and Knott, and the way that Liam O'Brien and Sam Riegel did their characters. And yeah, so I'm very thankful for those characters that I found, you know, that I kind of found them. They kind of found me, really. But yeah, it was a fun experience all around to have that just kind of plop into my lap without really having to look too hard for it. Because I don't think I would have looked for it on my own. So yeah, there you go. There's the story. I will say though, like, Caleb is still like one of my favorite characters that has ever been played on Critical Role. Just in general, like his story, his tragedy, the way that Liam was able to make the character really come to life in a way that was both mechanically solid in like how he really limited himself when it came to like certain aspects of the character by giving himself some of that, you know, trauma and whatnot, while also continuing to have a very interesting and meaningful character that didn't just steal the spotlight anytime he was there. So it's neat because his character obviously could have been like a main character, But just because of, you know, how I'd say professional Liam is, he was able to share that spotlight and invite people in and create more for that character and it's his story, just by allowing others to kind of discover his story through the process of playing the game. And so that was just really cool to see, and I think it's still something that has been a big inspiration for me when I make characters that are tragic or sad, but also just like in general. So I feel like he did a really good job just in general being the wizard and being the I don't know, the heart of the group isn't quite right, but maybe a part of the story that we didn't see coming and didn't expect to be as enduring as he wound up being. So you kind of see him going through and almost doing like this coloring page style of outline around the character here. And this is just so that I can get a good outline, obviously, but like get a good sense of where everything's supposed to be and keep it solid, so then when I go in and I add shadows and all of that, I won't get lost. Now, I was supposed to do this for the other characters, but I kind of just got too excited, I feel like, and in general I was just kind of trying to get back into the groove of inking digitally. So now I feel like very much more comfortable at this point. So now I'm kind of imposing upon myself like this extra step of doing this outline stage so that the piece looks, you know, better and more put together, and hopefully serves as a good centerpiece. So I'm kind of glad that this, you know, because we did this whole thing where I was just rolling dice to determine where and what characters I did. I mean, not really where, they were already set up, but you get the idea. Thank you. Now the lighting on this one's going to be a bit tricky, I can already tell. Because I've got fire to the rain, watch it burn. No, I've got fire coming out of Caleb's hands, of course, so I need to... Uh-oh. Okay, I thought that was going to freak out. Do that thing where it covers the entire canvas and the blackness. The accursed blackness that it consumes all. It always happens whenever digital paint. Be very careful. Good job, me. Way to leave it to me to figure it out later. Make it a little bit more skinny and gangly. He is basically just this hobo, homeless wizard. It's kind of funny because, like, Caleb, although, like, he's a very cool wizard, is kind of the reason, like, I feel like I dislike wizards in general. Like, whenever I'm writing, it always seems like I'm just like, wizards. Well, they're all evil, but anyway. And, I don't know if that's just, like, a fantasy trope that I've picked up on, and it probably is. But, no, I've done it. But like I watched the Mighty Nein. A lot of wizards are evil. I not watched. Well, I did watch it. It was the live play. And then I was reading The Witcher, and a lot of the wizards in that are evil, or at least wise not on the side of the main character. So it kind of has become like a thing. When I was that was the other thing, when I was doing a D&D campaign, my character hated wizards as well because they had wronged him, and it was kind of bad because they were like also like very, very powerful and stuff like that. So it's essentially just like kind of like making enemies everywhere he went. And so yeah, like wizards are like really cool, but I feel like every time like I write them now, it's just like, yes, they are evil. And I guess it comes from that idea of like power corrupts, and often that's just like, that's, I think, something that we can all relate to, especially like nowadays, where I don't know what the shift is, like, culturally, but not recently, but within the past couple years, a couple dozen years, we as a society stopped seeing people in any kind of sense of power as good, or even having, like, the capability of being good. They're always corrupt, or they got there in some way that we would consider immoral, or cheating, or just in general like not up to our standards, and nobody can hold that power without being corrupted. And that's just kind of interesting because I think it comes from this whole like never meet your heroes generation, where we didn't grow up with celebrities that we could look up to. We didn't grow up with people in Washington that we were just looking up to and felt like we could trust. We didn't grow up with heroes on TV that didn't later get exposed for something. We grew up in an era of, aha, I gotcha, on film. Aha, I found out, something you said on social media. Aha, and now it's this idea of we won't be fooled. We won't be led in a direction where we're trusting anyone or anything that's who's powerful or who's famous or who's in front of us or standing above us in any kind of way. And in a way that's good as far as like we don't blindly trust things, I think, as much as a society as we used to, but at the same time we kind of have lost those heroes and those people and role models. So now who do we look for our sense of pride as people, a sense of pride as Americans, a sense as if you're from America, our sense of patriotism, our sense of heroism. We can't really find that, and that's why, like, when I saw that they were doing a new Superman movie, I was a little bit surprised because I'm like, I don't really know if a Superman movie would work in this generation, because all we've seen so far, the biggest thing that like has been trending for the longest time is, and James Gunn, the director of the new Superman movie, kind of contributed to this, like the evil Superman what if, where it's not this hero from the stars that's shown up and decided to help us. It's this malevolent evil, or it's this corrupt superpower, like what we see from the Boys or Omni-Man with Invincible, and I don't think it's like a thing that is constantly pushed as much right now. I think obviously like it was kind of a trend and it's kind of come back in recent years, and I think it's starting to kind of go away now again. But it's sad that we don't have a good sense of like heroes and heroism anymore. It's sad that we don't have like the ability to look at people like first responders or cops or detectives or people that protect us constantly, or even superheroes are being deconstructed as, oh well, if you like Batman, then you're like a fascist because he's just this billionaire rich, and playboy who has all these toys. Why doesn't he like help Gotham with this, that, and the other? And we don't allow our belief to be suspended for these things. If we don't allow our imaginations to play in these worlds where heroes exist, we're left with reality, and reality kind of sucks, and we're left with this constant sense of, oh well, I can't trust anybody around me. I can't trust the first responder. I can't trust the government, and I can't trust, and I'm not saying throw yourself into the arms of the government or like the first badge or anything you see. I am, however, saying it is a shame as a society we can no longer seemingly come up with any kind of story or any kind of like scenario in our entertainment or in even our imaginations or in our play where good guys are just good, where heroes exist, where people with power or people with authority can be good. I think that was like so interesting to see. Like, I was watching Air Force One recently, and I'm like, I don't know if this movie would ever be able to get made like successfully, where in today's time with like with an actor from this era, because so much of it relies on the fact that it's like you have a president who is you know, he's a man in power, but he's still just like a man. He still cares for his family, still cares for certain things. Whereas like every single president I've seen on screen for the past, you know, decades of movies is always this like corrupt man who's like trying to do something under the table in an agenda or something like that. And to be fair, you know, Washington hasn't really given us and most politicians anywhere haven't really given us a good example of somebody who is just trying to do the right thing. So part of that I think is indicative of the culture, and some of that is indicative of like just how we are as humanity. But I do think in order to strive to be better, we have to create a feasible we have to create an amount of heroes that outweighs the corrupt evil that, you know, we see everywhere in reality. We don't want to create a society of people that cannot believe that there aren't people that are good for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. But anyway, that's a deep moral debate, and I've gone far too off in the weeds for that, so I apologize. But just an observation, I suppose. Do with it as you will. It's probably not like the best opener for this video, but I have been drawing for a couple of hours, so you're getting mildly tired philosophical Ruben today. He's fun, isn't he? This sounds like the guy that like your parents tell you to go play with, and you're like, I don't want to, Mom. Go. Let's add a line right here. It helps show us that this is a coat. As we see the seams, add a bit more bulk to our shadows here. Go. And pull this around like so. A bit more there. Okay. This one's coming along quite quickly. This might be a really short video and I might combine it with the other one. Well, except for the other one's really stupid long. But then again, I did like 3 characters in that one, so I don't know, maybe I should find a way to add like a coloring time lapse or something, or a coloring video. I don't know. I frankly haven't really figured out what I'm going to do for the coloring, because I didn't expect to have time to color it just at all in my schedule, and so I didn't want to like try to plan like a video for it and just have no time, or like have to rush on it. So I've kind of like left it for the moment. But what I think I'll wind up doing is I'll probably record like a time lapse or a quick overview version where I talk over it a little bit. I don't know. I don't really like recording like me coloring stuff though. I feel like those are like some of the weakest videos, like where it's like I just don't have anything to say, and then like I'm also like really kind of stressed out with the work I'm doing because I'm not good at coloring. So yeah, I don't know. I might do it, I might not. We'll have to see. Go. I don't know, I kind of like how this is turning out. I don't know if I'll wind up doing the other Critical Role teams from the other campaigns, from like campaign 1 and such. I doubt it, just because of like the amount of time that this does take. Like that is like one thing that's like annoying, that like, okay, if I work on this for like 5 hours, then I have to edit it for maybe 10, just because I have to watch through like a decent bit of it, and I have to edit it, and then I have to cut shorts, and then all that other stuff, and that's all on me. So it's like anything I do here I have to do like, you know, again. So every video is like twice the length of time that it takes to record, or every piece takes to make. So it's kind of like giving me some perspective of like what I can and can't get done. And so this I thought was going to be a lot simpler just compositionally and everything, and of course I didn't make it simpler because I am an ignoramus. And I just kind of have this thing where I have to do all the things rather than just like having a small, simple tribute piece where I draw one or two of my favorite characters from the show. No, I've got to draw all of them. And that's kind of what's like fouled me up with stuff in the past and why it's like Inktober was such a disaster for me because of this massive burnout. And I'm starting to kind of discover my limits on some of these things. And I'm learning that like the editing process is like really, really just like eating me whole when it comes to like energy to work on projects. So I either need to hire an editor, which I can't really do because I don't have the money to do, because all of this is free right now. As in like what you're watching is not monetized, and there's no way for me to monetize it at this point, just because like I need either a butt ton more views on stuff, or I need like supporters on Patreon and whatnot. And that's not me complaining, that's just where it is. So it's difficult for me to excuse the fact that like I'm spending this much time on unpaid work, sometimes for diminishing returns, which it is what it is. I do it for fun as well, but I think recently like some of the bigger projects do begin to wane my patience more so than maybe what they used to, just because of other things that I want to do and other things that are starting to become more important to me. Like the D&D campaign I'm running, or like the friends that I'm making, or, the job that I don't have yet. Stuff like that. Again, not complaining, just reality. So, mostly it just comes down to like picking projects and videos to make that aren't going to like completely consume me. And then by the end of them, I'm not like hating life itself and everything in it. And so then I can make something else after I'm done, rather than just like have to crash and not look at anything for a while. That was something that was like, I was asked recently. Like, what do you do for fun when you're not doing art? Or you're not creating? And I was like, well, I make battle maps for D&D. I write, stuff for the encounters and whatnot. And they're like, okay, so that's work. I'm like, well, no, it's not. It's for fun. They're like, no, that's work. Because you're still like building and you're still creating. So like, what do you do when you're not doing that? I'm like, they're like, yeah, that's probably why you're burnt out. Like, oh, okay. So I'm trying to prevent some of that by doing other things, and then also picking what I do and when I do it a little bit more judiciously, I think. A little bit more, getting a little more picky, I should say, with how and when and how much I spend my time. think I need to flip this canvas, but I'm going to do so after I finish up the hair real quick. Just so everything is all on the up and up. I'm going to do that before I do all the facial hair, because otherwise I'll have to move stuff around, tiny whiskers that I'll have to redraw, and I don't want to redraw them. I want to only have to draw them once. So I'll make sure the face is accurate. And I flip the canvas, and then I'll draw facial hair. It's being tactical while you draw, thinking through your process, figuring out what works and what doesn't. Takes time, dedication, and above all, dedicated bloody patience. I think bloody's technically swearing in some language, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me if it is, but if it is, then I'm sorry. Let's see what we've got. And flipping the canvas horizontally while I take a drink. I expect all the face to be like to one side, like he had a broken neck or got dropped off a cliff. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Wow, clean shaven Caleb. I think I might just copy this eye over real quick. Just to give me like a bit of leg up on my time. Done that with the other ones, but today I think I need to, just to keep the symmetry of this one. I don't need to, I am going to, because I feel like I want to. Well, this book is off, I'll tell you that. Should be floating a little more centered. While we're here, I should probably actually select that. Yep. I'm gonna remove some of this needless complexity. Phil. Alright, sweet. I'm not to the stage where I like this drawing yet. I feel like it's like... it's close, but no cigar, you know? Like, it's gonna take some time to get to the point where I'm happy with this. I need to expand this selection. that much, but whatever. Okay, it's a little bit more. Alright, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I feel like every drawing I do is like a balance between me completely disliking it and chucking it, and me falling in love with it, only for later to kind of go back on some of that. It's not like always like that, like I don't hate my art as much, I think, as I used to. But I do find myself often kind of like in that like back and forth pull where I'm like halfway to the point where like I dislike most of the stuff I do, and then I'll kind of balance out later on and be like, oh well, you know, I've actually come pretty far and I can see like improvement, and I'm also like enjoying a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing. So it's one of those things that, like, I kind of just have to be patient with myself when I'm looking at my artwork and I'm a little bit, like, discouraged or disenchanted with what I'm seeing. Because usually, like, I'll be able to, like, figure it out and get it back to, like, a place where I like it. It just takes some time. So we got a shadow here on the navel thing. I forget what it's called. It's got a name. I used to know it. I don't know it now. Nice thing about Caleb is he is like older, so I can kind of go ham on the details on the face, because the more wrinkles you add to the face, the more details you add to the face, you add, like, I think it's like for every line you add to the face, you add 10 years. So Caleb is just kind of like, even though he's not like incredibly like old, he is like lived a life of rather stressful hardships, so like a lot of like his, and tragedy, of course, always tragedy. So with that comes like an age to him and to his face that I get to kind of emphasize more than I do with the other characters. Which is just fun, and I love it. I think like that was like my favorite thing. We had somebody come in one time for our live painting class, and up to that point, like, we could only get like models that were female, and so that was fine. Obviously, like, you know, we were doing portraits, but the problem was, you know, after a while you can only do like soft features, and you can only like work with like the paint a certain way because you're working with, you know, female models. And I just kind of felt like I was getting a little bit stunted, and so one day we had this guy come in, and he was a little bit older. I was like, yes, and I moved my easel quickly because there was only so many spaces that we had, and I took the spot like in like the perfect angle, to get to work with that guy's face and to paint his portrait. And that was like one of the funnest ones that I did, just because like you get to work with all these wrinkles and you get to work with all these different bits of skin, and it just like it's just so much fun to draw like old guys' faces or to paint them. There's so many extra details that you get. There's so many other bits of I don't know, just life on the face that you don't get with female models. And I think it's just like obviously like I love painting and drawing female characters. It's one of like my favorite things to do. But when it comes to like really showing off detail or really showing off like some I feel like hardcore like just like shaped chiseled features and stuff like that, you really like need to find yourself like a good reference or find a model of an old dude. It's just like some of the favorite. I found a bust one time that I was painting as I was doing a bunch of 3D printing, and I was looking for actually this one wasn't 3D printed. I wound up buying the bust itself and then painting it of this old dude, and it was just such fun practice because I got to work with all these different skin variations between the old blues and the old like kind of greens you would see on a face as you paint. And like you do see some of that with like female figures and female portraits and whatnot, but like I just don't feel like it's as pronounced as it is with guys. And so like that's like always super fun for me to get to work with and to paint with. And so yeah, every time we had a guy in the studio, I would rush to go paint, because it was always like super rare to nab a guy to sit. And like that was always like funny, like every now and then like the girls in the class they'd be dating someone and we'd be like, okay, we'll get him in here, we gotta paint him. I'm like, yeah, I don't really. They'd be like, yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work out. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. You can break up with him while we're painting him. He's got to sit there for 2 hours. So just like, you can do it after we're done, but like, don't ruin this for us. we need to practice the male form, and we haven't in so long. It was like we were vampires trying to get victims. Honestly, that's what it was sometimes, because it's like you had to convince somebody to come in unpaid and just sit. Like we were only drawing their face, so you think it wouldn't take that long, but no, it takes plenty long, really. So you have to sit and stay awake under a hot light with like 40 people looking at you. Well, not even 40. It was only like I don't remember how big that class was. I think it was only about maybe 20, and yeah, they're just gonna stare at you and draw you for hours. You don't get to see what they're doing for pretty much the whole time. We only take a couple of breaks, and we yell at you if you fall asleep. The rule was, though, like if you couldn't find a model, you had to be the model yourself. So I forget like how I got out of it, because I remember like I can't remember if I either had a model, like if I asked somebody to come in, which I don't think I did, or I know I didn't wind up being a model for that class. I was a model for like a couple of the other classes that we did. Although some of you are wondering how that was in art school. I kept all my clothes on during the entire adventure of art school. In fact, pretty much everybody did. So there. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I had somebody ask me that one time, and it just like, it completely just like slipped my mind that that's a thing in most art colleges. With live nude painting or drawing, which wasn't a thing at the college that I was going to. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I was a model for this class, and they're like, oh. I was like, what do you mean, oh? And they're like, well, like, did they give you a curtain at least or something? I was like, no, I just stood up in front of everybody. Like, this live drawing. It was life drawing. Everybody had to model for that. But then I realized, I was like, oh, well, no, we didn't. Like, we just had to basically just pose for like 10 minutes or something like that. Not even that. With life drawing, it's like you kind of want to do it like quickly. Otherwise, like you sit and you get a little bit too finicky with your drawing. So we would have like people come up and they would have to choose a pose like off the top of their head, and then depending on like if we were doing 1 minute sketches or I think we never went above like 5 minutes. But that was like always the thing. It's like there's choosing a sketch and then there's choosing a sketch for like 5 minutes. Or choosing a pose and then there's choosing a pose for 5 minutes. And sometimes people made poor decisions for their poses, and we were quite mad at them when they would fall off the stage or something, or ruin the pose, because then we had to tell them how to get back into position. And they were never quite, you know, the same as they were before, so we began to learn how to pose a little bit more effectively. Yeah, as an artist, if you ever get an opportunity to go to a gesture drawing class, I highly recommend it. I don't believe it's necessary to go to one where they pose nude. Personally, I don't really think that's like a thing that's necessary for good drawing, and in fact I think it's like it's better if you work with clothes, because then you get used to drawing clothed figures. I mean, unless you're just drawing nudes all the time, which, you know, then do what you want. Or at least what is... I don't know. Anyway. There's a whole discussion about artistic nudity and all that I'm not going to get into today. It's not up for the topic of today, sorry. This hand is kind of cool. I don't know if it's accurate or not. It's probably not, but it does look kind of cool. Yeah, this finger's way too long. There we go. That's a little bit more doable. I think it's Dan Mora that I was looking at, and he's got a couple of drawings that I've seen where like the fingers are just so expressive and fun. It just makes me like super excited to like, you know, try and draw hands as cool as that. I think it was watching like the reaction of the other players at the table for Critical Role that really got me kind of interested in the story, because watching the reactions to the other players reveal their backstories, it never occurred to me that like in D&D you could have like a backstory that like nobody but you and the DM knew. And just like that was such a cool thing to kind of just like stumble across and be like, oh, well, that's interesting. And I feel like it's quite cool when done right, and when you know, properly discussed with your DM, because otherwise it's just like it can kind of be a pain in the butt if there's a bunch of secret stuff that you and the DM are doing under the table while other people are trying to play. I've been in a couple scenarios where it's gone that way, sadly, where an otherwise cool character now becomes like very, very annoying to deal with, because like their whole backstory and everything has to be kept secret at all costs and no one can know anything about them. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to be a jerk about it, you know? Like, or you don't have to like interrupt the entire thing so that you can go discuss something with the DM while we're trying to play. Like, I think like that's kind of something else that's like become a pet peeve of mine in general. Just like when people want to protect, like, oh, you know, I like with spoilers or with other things, like people are constantly just like, I don't want to know and don't tell me and all this and okay, cool, fine, whatever. But like there's also times where like people just like go way too far, keeping all those secrets and making sure that nobody knows anything about their character ever, or anything about like this, that, or the other, and metagaming is just a no-no. And I'm just like, I appreciate that, and I appreciate like the authenticity of some of that, but at the same time it's also very, very frustrating as a player to now have to wait until essentially like I have permission to ask about these kind of things when, you know, other stuff is happening, or when, you know, like sometimes it's like if you've got like good sense of like how and when to keep a secret and how and when to like not metagame, I guess it's not a big deal. But like there's been times where I've just been like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to keep this secret from the entire table just so we can have like a cool reveal like 100 games from now, when like I'm already grown tired of your character or how you're playing them? So I don't know, it's like it's a fine balance. So I don't hate like secrets at the table. Obviously, I think it's cool. But I'll say I don't love them to the point where I want them to be really hampering to the game. or to the flow of the story. Almost done here. Let's do the fire effect, which is very important to get right. So let me look up reference real quickly of fire, or at least like something that's kind of like wisping around like fire. I've got reference of Michael Turner still up. Whew, I got this wave of exhaustion all of a sudden. I need to stay awake. Come on, we can do this. Alright, I like how this fire is drawn, so I'm gonna draw this. I have no idea who is the artist, so. It's fine. Alright. I really like how, like, whenever you get a character from Liam O'Brien, it's 100% like commitment. There's no like boring characters with him. Like everything's very, very like baked in and fun and interesting. And it's so fun to see every time he comes to the table, every bit of his story and one of the things that like I love about Caleb is, which I consider like his best character. One of the things I love is like how he describes like how spells work, or he talks about how the magic that he casts is, you know, prepared, or how it's used, and it's very, very cool to see that. I say see that, but I guess like the whole point is like he's describing, so it's not even like anything you see really. It's all in your imagination. But like I swear I've seen these fights in my head, and I've you know been there for all this, so it's I don't know, I guess that's kind of telling of how good a storytelling they all are. Do I like how this fire looks? I think it's okay. excited to see how they're gonna do Caleb's backstory. I'm sure it's gonna be like super sad, but even so, I still really want to see it in the show. So we're almost done here, I'd say. Just need a few more tongues of flame coming in and out here. I'm gonna add some embers, some other bits of fire, just really flying off of here. And I think that should be good. So let's go ahead and let's just make sure we get this all selected. It's not going to select pretty, I know that for sure. I did not draw it that good, or good enough for that, but it's fine. It's fine. Well, got some of it. Got slightly more than I expected. I'll tell you what, this wizard boy is really sad and depressing. Sounds like to me he could use a good lawnmower. That or a propane grill. Recently I've been processing all my thoughts through the voice of Hank Hill from King of the Hill. I don't know why, it's just like, I think I heard his voice somewhere and it just made me laugh. And then now it's just perpetually playing in my head, just like his mannerisms and such. And it's like, it's not even like something that like I'm really into, but like, I don't know, like it's just, it's where I'm at right now. Honestly, I think that'd be kind of hilarious if like Hank Hill was like into the Mighty Nein. Like that was his, like a whole episode where he's just like trying to watch all like what, 400 hours of that. Peggy, that goblin girl that keeps drinking just ain't right. Ball. It's probably a terrible impression, but it's fine. I don't care. I've been drawing too long and I'm starting to lose it. The nice thing about this fill layer is it doesn't have to be exact. Like, it just kind of has to be as close as it makes sense to be, because it's fire and because it's like energy and because it's like, you know, kind of leaping around and really kind of just like getting the idea across of like burning embers and flame, which I'm gonna like, you know, already probably make a lot bigger and more impressive in the painting stage. Like, I don't need it to follow all of the lines. I need it to just kind of like be close enough and use the lines as like kind of guidelines. Although I doubt Caleb would let like his fire get that close to his precious books. Alright, there we go. Select the selection, go to select, and I'm going to grow the selection a little bit more. This means select area by 10 pixels, okay. And then go ahead, carve out there, and then throw a quick mask over that. And then let's go ahead, let's hide the fire fill, and let's, things are loading very slowly. Not sure what's happening. Alright, pull this off. Alright. And I would say there is our wizard. Let me do a quick fill around just him now. So convert this layer to a reference layer. Select everything but him. Alright. Shift I. I don't think it's gonna go well. Just like I'm noticing that like some of the things are not where they're supposed to be. That makes me a bit concerned. Yeah, there's definitely some improvements to be made. So, first things first, I'm just going to go around the edge here. This big main area. I'm going to just do a little bit of that. Sure that this is not left out. Fill that in. Okay, here's something. And I'm very concerned about this. I have yet to see a single image of Frumpkin the cat in the Mighty Nein show. Very concerned. A lot of people are talking about the changes that they're making. A lot of people are talking about like all the things that like, oh, you know, this and that, and getting up all in arms. No, I am up in arms about there's no Frumpkin the cat. Okay? Where's Frumpkin? What happened? Like, that was like a visual cue for like Caleb's growth near the end there of the story. So I want to know where Frumpkin the cat is and why Frumpkin the cat isn't with Caleb. And when we're gonna see Frumpkin. Because I really hope we do, because if he's not in there, get some serious questions. It's like the best character. Not really, but still. I thought it'd be fun to be enraged for a little bit. It was. gonna be a video or a short. One of the biggest characters that nobody seemed to notice that was missing was actually a part of the Mighty Nein all along. And then it's gonna be like 10 minutes of just like nothing content, and then finally it's like Frumpkin the cat, one of the Mighty Nein's most essential members, wasn't in there, wasn't in the first episode, leaving many fans wondering what they were thinking over at Critical Role. Liam O'Brien, who plays, you know, blah 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 blah, just on and on with that bull. Sometimes like I get very annoyed by like these essays that like are exposing, you know, the truth or something you may not know about. I'm like, yeah, okay. Don't care. Now get Fjord as well. Hide the fill layer. Actually, I probably should have expanded the fill layer before I did that. But I didn't. I should do that. Okay, hold on. Let me do it again. Select the fire hill. Select the book file. Select the file. Then go to selection, then go to expand selected area, then hit 10 pixels, hit OK, then go to Fjord, delete the old mask, put the new mask. Now everything is better. Don't you feel just so fine and dandy? I know I do. So there we go, we've got Caleb now. Wow, what is going on over here? This is another mess. I should probably address some of this. Yeah, some of that should definitely be... I guess it didn't get selected? Don't know. It's kind of weird that that didn't, but alright, cool. Selection. Expand selected area. I'm sure this isn't super entertaining for y'all to watch. There we go. Yeah, that's reads great. Okay, I am going to take a quick pause here, and I might get this finished up later today, or I might just be done for the day. I don't know. I do know that I gotta put the same mask on now. There we go. Perfect. Swirling up. This is really starting to look nice. Like, I fully expected to just kind of just be like, and I hate it by the end. It's not really turning out that way, surprisingly. It's turning out to be, I like it more as I add more characters. So, yeah. Very, very cool. One last character to go, Beauregard, and I'll get right on that. Hi there. So, I'm back. You'll be noticing there's a time lapse going on right now, and the reason that is because I sat down to do Beauregard way too late at night, and because of that, I was kind of in a, oh, this is awful, you're awful, I'm awful, just like very downer bummer mood, and I didn't like how that sounded, and I also didn't like the art that I was doing because I was just too tired and I was too stressed and I shouldn't have been working. I should have just taken a nap or something more productive, and so I've done that a couple of times since then, and so now I'm back and I'm gonna hopefully finish this off a little bit more on a positive note than where I was at that point. So I apologize for that, but honestly, I don't want these videos to be just me hating on everything and hating myself on, you know, stream. I think it's good to admit that I was a bit stressed and I wasn't as enthusiastic about drawing and finishing this as I should have been, for no other reason other than just the fact that I was tired and stressed. So I think it's important and healthy to learn to perform in a better capacity, and understand that, you know, you should sleep and you should, you know, take breaks rather than just trying to plow through artwork. So here's that lesson for you. I should have known better, and so I've kind of cut my content there to be a better example. But yeah, so let's go ahead, and if I can make an adjustment here, go ahead and get started on drawing this next bit. Okay, so we're drawing Beauregard, and I got a few good things done that other night, but I still think that I need to improve some of how this is done. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to complete the outline with the turnip pen. I still don't know why it's called the turnip pen. I think it's just like, I don't know, I'd like to think it's a translation thing, but I doubt it. Just because, like, I think everything else is, like, fairly well translated as far as, like, this pen set goes. That is, like, one thing. Like, there's a setting for that in Clip Studio where you can either keep the original, usually Japanese language on your pens when you buy them. Like, so, like, this has, like, all the Japanese. Yeah, it's not translated because I downloaded it. When I downloaded it, it said something like real G pen or real, like, manga pen or something like that. But then when I didn't have that setting ticked, so it, of course, now is just a, whatever that says in Japanese. I don't know Japanese that well to translate it, so sorry. But turnip pen, I have no idea why it's called a turnip pen. And I'm a little curious as to why. Of course, then now that I think about it, I've never really, like, questioned why a G pen is called a G pen. I guess it just sounds like professional enough. I don't know. Like, isn't it weird that, like, you can add a letter just in front of something and, like, immediately you think, oh, well, it's just a tool then. Like, it sounds like a tool. Lighting here that I'm probably just going to turn into a full shadow. I forget what that shadow's called. It's been a while since I've been in a photography class. I did have to take a couple of photography and film classes when I was in school. I didn't really learn too much from them. Like, as in, like, they weren't bad classes, they just weren't as informative as I think they should have been. I think there was some structure that maybe could have changed. See, told you. Every time I have a Rembrandt shadow, it seems like on this drawing, I just get rid of it immediately. Same with Fjord over here. just wanted to compare some of the shadows there, so I don't like have one that's like really, really in shadow and the other one's not. They don't have to be 100% the same, but I do like the idea of them having at least like similar lighting scenarios as they're like kind of framing Caleb here. Wow, Caleb's eyes look really big right now. Not just because they're centered, I don't know. I might change that later. Not right now, I'm busy. Gotta go fast. Okay. My tablet's got this screwy wire that I think it's the HDMI cable that is just like, I don't know, worn out or something. And it will cause the tablet to blink every now and then, which is so annoying. But it doesn't do it like consistently enough to like the point where I want to replace it altogether. And I think the biggest problem right now is like I can't figure out, like I've gone on to Wacom's website to try to find like an official replacement because I don't just want to buy something that doesn't work. And I can't find like this specific cable. Like I think it's either the HDMI or the power, or not the power. What else is back there? Anyway, it's one or the other, and I'm like I really want to replace this, but I don't want to like get the wrong thing, and so I haven't been able to like locate exactly what it is that we have as far as the problem, because again it doesn't do it like as consistently to the point where like I have to replace it. I think I will have to at some point, and I need to just like preemptively do that before it does become a big problem. I find it really annoying though that like the cable is going out on it, as opposed to like back in the day, like we've got an NES downstairs, and like from the original, you know, the olden days of the 80s, and I like everything on there is still perfect, like the cables for the controllers, the you know, reader for the cartridges and stuff like that. The cartridges are still good, you just have to blow in them and then they work. It's like nowadays it's like just unheard of that something would last that long. And it's really unfortunate because it's like the NES, the little NES is like such a powerhouse. And I wish Nintendo would like, or just companies in general, but like I'm just kind of on a Nintendo thing now, I guess, where I like their Switch. I have just recently purchased one. I say recently. This summer I purchased one. And it was, you know, it was used and whatnot, but still, like, even like a lot, like I don't like how the controllers are on the Switch. I don't like, I've never really loved them. Ever since I first saw them come out, I was like, these really feel cheap. And like every time like I held them, they're just like way too small for my hands, and I felt like it was like I was holding a McDonald's toy, and I was afraid it was just gonna break anytime like I got slightly into the game. And they haven't done that yet, but like I have like one, because I bought it used, I got a bunch of like extra controllers with it, and so some of the controllers were in better shape than the others, and like most of them just have like sticky buttons and stuff like that, because I think like it had been like a family used machine, so like, you know, whatever. I figured like I could just clean it and call it good. And one of them just like would not work at all, and it was missing one of the like toggles on it. So I bought like a replacement toggle kit, and I opened it up and I replaced the toggle, and as I was like finding all the pieces to like put it back together, like one of them had just like fallen off of one of the bumpers, which I found out isn't a bumper really, or a trigger, it's actually just like a button, which I don't know if a bumper is considered a button or like a full-on trigger, but the difference being one just like presses against a spring and into a part of the circuit board, and then the other I think like has a little bit more complicated engineering into it. But either way, the part on the actual like circuit, sorry I had to cut that, for some reason my Bluetooth just failed and it was playing through my speakers, which somebody owns that music, so I don't think that would have been okay. Anyway, so like the entire assembly to the board had just like completely broken off the board, and I guess it was just like from overuse or something like that, but still it just seemed to be like really like not durable and not really like something that they had like looked into. I feel like a trigger would have lasted maybe a little bit longer, but I don't really know because I'm not like as like well versed in consoles and their construction. But I do know that like it was a little bit like kind of jarring to just watch that piece just like fall off, and I was just like, did I do that? Like, what's happening? And I asked my grandpa, who's a smart techie engineer or electronics guy, and he was like, no, that wasn't you, this is this, and he explained it to me like what was going on. And basically I was just like kind of realized, I was like, oh, so like this is just like not well made, or like what's the thing? He's just like, yeah, it could be that, or it could be the fact that like, you know, it is like a tiny little thing that's not like very like durable. So I kind of, I don't know, but like looking at that compared to like how much I have like absolutely mashed the A and B button on the NES downstairs trying to beat Super Mario 3. Because like that's the thing, like if you start playing, there's no save on that. So, you know, next time there's a storm, or next time there's a, you know, anything that bumps and shuts off the console, it's like you have to start all over, and that would happen constantly. We'd lose power, and like I and my sister who had been playing, would both be like, no! We'd just be like, we knew we would have to start completely over, and we were so annoyed by that. So then when we got a Switch, or when I bought a Switch, we saw that they had like the original Super Mario 3, and we saw that like you could save or add a save state to it. I was like, this is so nice, we can play for as long as we want and then like go do something else and then come back. So I think it took us like a week finally just to beat it, because like we had gotten to like the final levels, like we'd gotten quite good at it, but because of all the interruptions, because of like power loss, or just life in general, we weren't able to beat it. So to finally beat it was just so cathartic. And now people are gonna be like, oh, I beat that in like a week. I don't care. It's just gonna be completely honest. I'm not that much of a gamer. Like any of the video game videos that I've made should prove that to you by now. Like I don't really care. I play games because they're fun, not to prove that I'm better than anybody. Like that's why like I don't really love the just get good bro like style of like game design, because it's rather frustrating to me, because it's just like I just want to explore this world and enjoy the lore, and yeah, be challenged, but not to the point where it's like I'm throwing my controller against the wall. Which is why it's been like so difficult for me to play like games like Hollow Knight. It's like, oh, this is so pretty, and then it's just like, it's so difficult, and I can't like get past like some of the most basic stuff. And then I ask my friends for like help, and they're just like, well, you just get good. And I'm like, oh my lord, we're not friends anymore. It's funny how that happens every time you say that. It's like suddenly I have no friends. Trying to decide how I want these like these lines on the kind of gi outfit that Beau's wearing here will interact with the shadow. I don't know if I like how that looks, so let me look at some reference here. It doesn't always seem to be the case. I think it's kind of just like kind of like how that's looking. I don't love how this hand looks, but we'll fix that in post. In post, meaning I like in a little bit, of course. There is no post. I am the post. go. Something like that. Shading here, I think. Not quite sure. Getting a bit nervous. Right. Okay, let's do this arm then. Kind of doing the reverse shadow work here of the arm as we come out over here and finish up this fist, and it'll look great and it'll be fine, and it don't have to redraw it 500 times. I'm kind of surprised by like all the stuff I don't have to redo. Like I'm not like upset about like all the stuff that I did before this on this drawing, because I figured like I would sit down and have to like undo all that just because of like how I was kind of taking it out on the artwork when I was working on this before. And now like I'm getting to it and I'm just like, well, yeah, this was a pretty good decision. I just didn't see it at the time because I was too busy being mad or just like upset or tired. And a lot of that was just like me stressing over this piece and me just like being done with the week in general. And that's just like, that's not a great frame of mind for me to be in when I'm working, especially on camera. But in general, like you don't want to force yourself to work when you're not in a healthy kind of frame of mind, where it's like even if you do make good decisions and make good design choices, kind of like what I did here, like you won't see that and you'll still just hate everything you do. That was really where I was with that. There's a point of the recording, and I'm not going to show it, but like basically where I was just like screw it, and then I just shut the camera off and I was so mad. And that's just like after I said that and I looked back at it, I was like, that's really not how this should go. And it's not just because of like, oh, it's bad for entertainment for you guys. It's more just like it's bad for just art in general and production. And it's like, you know, I need to be able to like understand, okay, I'm too tired to work on this now, so I need to go do something else. Or I'm too stressed on this, I need to relax. Just some basic stuff like that really does change how you see the work that you're doing, and therefore like really does help you as you go. Like if you're constantly just like nitpicking everything that you're doing, you're never gonna like, even if like it's the best piece you ever made, you're never gonna like it. So you need to have a certain amount of like safeguards, I guess you could call them, in place to where you're like, okay, well, I haven't really made a breakthrough here, and I keep redoing and erasing and undoing and undoing. It's like it's time to take a break. It's time to do something else. because this isn't working. So, yeah, I think that's... You don't have to be, like, overly positive about your work all the time, because sometimes it will just suck. But if everything you do is like, oh, this sucks, I suck, you know, I can't get this done right, then maybe it's time to, like, yeah, reevaluate some of what you're doing. Alright. Very nice. It's actually starting to look like how I wanted it to. It's always important to remember that your wrapping lines should be, you know, wrapping around the form that you want them to be, you know, wrapping around. Instead of just lines that are kind of there. What a concept, right? I didn't sketch out the pants, so now I have to do the pants on my own, just during the inking layer, which is stupid. I should have done that earlier, but it's fine. 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 Honestly, it's not that bad. They're just kind of bulky pants. It's not that big of a deal. Bulky ninja pants. I think in the original art she's got like some sort of design on the pants, but I don't think we're gonna worry about that. Right there, so I don't really need to worry too much about too much of these shadows on this side. Alright, I gotta do the fist, I gotta do the eye, and then holy cow, I think we're almost done. Wow. In the words of Lightning McQueen, wow. That's really something. Dang it, who's that actor? I know his name, I just can't think of it. He's in like a bunch of movies I like. Owen Wilson, sure. I know Owen Wilson. I've watched a lot of the movies he's in. I don't know why I can't remember his name ever. Like, I like it when he's in Wes Anderson films. Because he's always just like... Like, Owen Wilson kind of just doesn't really, like, fit in. Like, his voice just, like... And that's what, like, makes him funny, I feel like. Obviously, I think he's playing it up. But in the Wes Anderson kind of, like, films of just, like, absurdity, which I find really funny sometimes, he's, like... He fits pretty much perfectly in that world. Just because of, like... I don't know, like every character in there is a caricature. Like even like I remember like seeing, I think Lea Seydoux was in like Grand Budapest Hotel, and that might have been her first role ever in a Hollywood movie. I might be wrong on that, but I remembered her because I saw her in Death Stranding, and like her performance is like amazing in that. But even in that, like, I remember, like, she was just, like, very, like, caricaturistic, and it was just kind of funny to see her like that, and to see, like, everybody else, obviously, in that movie the same way. But, like, from what I understand, it's, like, it's very fun to work on those movies with, Wes Anderson. I don't know, he might be, like, very, very, like, particular about some things. But it might just be like, I don't know, it seems like the people on there are having fun rather than like some film directors seem like an absolute like terrible time to work with. I love working for my boss. He just like sent me like my phone's over here just in case like he needs me for something, and he just sent me like a playlist. Just like, that's awesome. Cause like he is a good boss, and he does you know, make sure to call me out when I'm wrong, or tell me how to make things better, or to do my job better. But he's also just like, dude, Silk Song just came out. I'm not gonna be available for the next like couple days. And I'm like, okay, but who do I call when I need to get paid? And he's like, figure it out. It's like, I totally get that. It's like, and he, to be fair, he was not like completely AFK for that period of time, but it was like something like anytime like I can't get in contact with him, like, oh, I guess like, you know, I guess his priorities are in place elsewhere. But no, I love working for him. don't know if these wraps look like too bandagey, but I do kind of like how they look. I think if like once they're in blue, they'll look a little less bandagey. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's get this eye finished, and I can already tell it's way too low. Let's go up. About there-ish. Actually, let me... Should I flip the canvas now? Probably, because I'm nervous to do so, which means I definitely should. I hate that. Get rid of it. Alright. Quick canvas flip. Edit. That's where it is. While that happens, another drink of water, because hydration is important. This long form video that's probably too long is brought to you by water. Drink it. Drink it right now. I can tell you haven't had enough. Coffee doesn't count. Just because there's water in it doesn't mean you drink water. You need to hydrate, or you'll dehydrate. So far, like, I have a lot of friends from college, and most of them are female, just because like of how like the art program was. It's just like pretty much mostly just females. Why do I say it like that? They're not females. Of the female variety, the female species. Oh no, they're girls, and you know, we're obviously just friends because I'm still single. Because like that was something like I had to explain to people. It's just like, oh, are you dating anyone? I'm like, no. We hang out and we work and we see the worst of each other for hours. No one wants to date anybody in this department. But anyway, in the art program, like majoritively it was girls, especially in my class, because most of the guys just like got kicked out or left or whatever. And we got to, you know, every now and then we'll be on a call, or I'll be talking to them or something, and like I'll usually like just be like sign off by saying like, all right, see you, go drink water, and they're like, what do you mean? No, no, no. I'm like, how much water have you drank today? And they're like, I had coffee. And I'm like, no, go drink water. Because like it's just like every single, I don't know why it's such a thing. Like, I don't think guys are any better at it, but like it seems with like girls especially, it's just like they're like absolutely, it's like, why does my head hurt? Why does, you know, my body ache? Why does all this, you know, blah blah blah? And I'm just like, have you drank any water? No, but water's not gonna solve the problems. And, you don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, prove me wrong. Drink some water right now. And they'll drink water, and then like everything gets better after a little while. Just like. So hydration became like a big thing that like I was like advocating for when I was on campus, just because like I saw too many people like pass out and like from lack of sleep and like dehydration, and I'm just like, you know what? No, it's not gonna happen. Not to my classmates. So I was a little bit annoying with that, and I still am, and it's funny just to like 9 times out of 10 I'll call them. It's like, did you drink water? No. Like, drink water right now. It's free. It's the best flavor of all. The flavor of life. And so yeah. And I'm not saying like I obviously like have to preach the same thing to myself because I don't drink enough water. It's not that I don't like drink other stuff. I just and that's probably worse because like for me I don't I don't drink like a lot of sodas or anything else because I don't. It's not like even like a health thing. I just like, I guess forget that like drinking is an option. And so like I'll go throughout the day and I'll realize it's like, oh snap, I have not had any liquid today. That's probably why everything's getting really fuzzy for me. So then I'll drink a lot of water, and then like all of a sudden everything's just like, oh, everything's better. Like every time. It's crazy, man. But yeah, drinking water is very important, especially if you're an artist and you want to stay sharp. If you want to be an artist that's, you know, on the ball and sharp, just like me, drink water. Like, you know, like a celebrity promotions thing. That always, like, blew my mind. It's like, do this product thing, and then, like, you'll be just like me. The person who was an Olympic gymnast. Eat this cereal that, you know, I probably didn't eat because, like, during my Olympic training, I just ate, like, eggs and nothing else. And, like, maybe, like, a cup of, like, orange juice from, like, an orange with nothing in it and, like, had to eat the pulp. You know, it's just, like, but, like, somehow, like, they expect that to still work. They put, like, the I guess it does work, but like, I don't know, like, I never understood why like people still like buy into celebrity endorsements when it's just like they're just getting paid money because they're famous to like hook you. It's like, why do you still, why would you buy that just because like some guy who played basketball is on it? It's like, he probably has never used this product. Like, like, you don't see celebrity endorsements on like Kleenexes, or I guess now that I say that, I'm sure that's happened. But like, when I got a cold and I'm, you know, skiing down the mountain, the Olympics and the Tour de France or whatever, I know the Tour de France is an Olympic, but I use, you know, this Kleenex brand because it's the Kleenex of champions. What the heck? That's not supposed to just be like, oh, Mom, we gotta buy this Puffs Kleenexes because so I can just be like Jordan Lee Michaels, I don't know, from the gold medalist from Zimbabwe or Team America, whatever. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't buy products based on like. I just don't understand why that's like even like. Why that seems to be a viable option anymore. It's the same deal with like celebrities in animated movies. It's like, oh, we got Chris Pratt to voice this. I'm like, great, he's in another thing he probably shouldn't be. He was funny in live action and that was it. Like, he doesn't need to be in every single like animated project because he's not that good at it. He's not like he's not a bad voice actor. He's just not as good as like, oh, I don't know, professional voice actors. Why don't you hire them? All right. I know the staff is too short, but Caleb is like right there, so it doesn't really need to be all the way there. And I think it looks pretty good. I might make Beau just a touch bigger here, just to kind of scale with Fjord. The Fjord Explorer. Alright. Looks about even. Let me do some quick composition checks here. Actually, first let me do the hold on. Let's do the fill layer for Beau. So I'm gonna make a layer, say it's fill, go up here, make this a reference layer. hit the W key, selection to reference layer only, select the reference layer, wait a few minutes because it's being slow right now, and it's kind of annoying and I hate it. Select that. That needs to be better drawn, but I can draw that later. Invert the selection, go and fill it with like a bluish, because I want to. Alright, and then fix the belt before I forget. The belt needs to go lower. Or there needs to be a second layer to the belt, I guess I should say. It's not a huge deal, but it is bothering me, so. There. It's bothering me less now. There we go. Oh, I need to fix that too. Not the thing I'm fixing now, but the other thing that I was looking at that you can totally tell because I'm doing a great job at saying what I'm looking at. I've thought about getting one of those eye trackers. I don't really know how I would set that up, but like it'd be kind of funny just to see like where I'm looking. Except for like the times where I'm just kind of like looking off into space and like spacing out halfway through like the drawing, which happens sometimes. So I don't know if I want to have to explain that. Oh, that's right, we gotta up the selection area. Okay, and then delete it on the mask. There we go. And I think that's the only place where it's really a problem. Okay, his face is alright. His nose is really big. I might need to expand that a little bit. So let me do that just real quickly, because I'm here. It's like the second character I did, so obviously, oh well, deselect that and then you can... Mollymock though, it's like it's so easy to just like exaggerate like his face and everything about him because he's such a like an exaggerating kind of bigger than life kind of character. Alright, go to the Caleb layer, go to the fill layer, go to the fire layer, and go to the book fill layer. Select all of that, subtract it out of Beau, go to Beau, get rid of the fill layer there, and alright. I think, just while I'm here, I'm going to do a couple of checks on the faces and such. They don't look bad. So, we're going to do one last canvas flip. I need to get a really cool, like, stein or something that I can, like, flip up and take sips out of while I flip the canvas. I do notice Yasha's like chin is like a little bit off-centered. I might adjust that. Oh, another train. Sorry, it's too nice of a day to close the windows, so they're open, so you get to hear the train. Some people might just like love that though, so. I don't know how many train enthusiasts I have on this channel, but there you go. I think with that, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. So let me go ahead and let's add a little bit of the style with the dice right there. Let me hold on. Select the volley layer. Good dice. Delete that. Alright. So I think that does a pretty good job of showing off all of the bits and pieces here of this drawing. It's very, very complicated right now, obviously. But I think with just a little bit of some background work maybe, and obviously some color, this will be such a nice poster. And I don't know, like I might even get this, like I like it enough I might even get it on my wall. Who knows? Let me see if I can get this kind of vignette going here. Kind of cool to see that. Although I am noticing that like Beau's a little bit light on the details there, so that might have to change. I'm like at the point where like I'm like I really like it, but like I'm trying to find like something to prove that wrong, and not just because like, you know, I'm a negative person obviously when it comes to my own work, but also I want to make sure that like I continue to like it. Actually, let me select them all again. Fire. Let me do that, and then let me do that again. But this time I'm going to add a fill layer here. Oops. I was selecting the mask. 1 minute. There we go. There we go. So now we can kind of see them a lot better. So I think I'm going to call this one. Now I'm going to probably insert a coloring time-lapse video either at the end of this video or at another video that will be linked. But I want to thank you all for watching this. I had a really good time working with all of these characters. All of them were super fun to work with and enjoy the various designs of. I hope that you enjoy the show that's coming out for this. This wasn't sponsored at all. Obviously, I am still a very small channel, but I enjoy very much getting to work on these very fun and awesome characters. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Now go make something awesome.